Your mother is alive. I saw her in the asylum, the poor boy shouted to the millionaire. The vendors shouted over each other, the wheels of carts rattled on the uneven roads, and the horns of cars and rickshaws pierced the air in constant protest. Yet, Ravi barely noticed any of it. His mind was elsewhere, caught in a whirl of memories and dreams he couldn't afford to indulge in. He was 12 years old, small for his age, with ragged clothes and bare feet that had walked more miles than any child should. Life had been hard since the day he lost his parents, or so he thought. Ravi lived by his wits. Some days he begged at the temple gates, and some days he worked odd jobs, carrying bundles for shopkeepers or washing plates in small roadside eateries. Each night, when the city lights flickered like distant stars, he found a corner in a quiet alley or under a bridge to sleep. He knew hunger intimately, but even hunger didn't hurt as much as loneliness. Yet on this particular morning, something felt different. Ravi had been wandering through the marketplace, weaving between the crowds, when he heard a snippet of conversation that froze him in place. "I saw her in the asylum. She's alive," whispered a thin, trembling voice. Ravi stopped, straining to listen. The words were almost lost among the shouts and clatter of the busy market. He looked around. A small group of people had gathered near a fruit stall, talking in hushed tones. Curiosity pulled him closer. "She can't be," another voice replied, full of disbelief. "Everyone said she died years ago, but I saw her myself," the first voice insisted. "She's there behind locked doors alone." Ravi felt his heart leap. Could it be true? His mother, whom he had been told was gone forever, alive somewhere in the city, trapped in a place he had never even heard of. His hands trembled. He remembered her smile, the gentle way she had tied his hair in the mornings, and the stories she had told him before he was too young to understand the world's cruelty. He didn't think. His legs moved before his mind caught up. He followed the whispering crowd, asking quiet questions, but people either shrugged or shook their heads. No one wanted to talk about the asylum, and some seemed afraid even to mention it. Fear didn't stop Ravi. If anything, it made him more determined. By mid-morning, he had gathered a few details. The asylum was on the outskirts of the city, a long ride away on the old road lined with trees. It was a large, gray building with high walls and iron gates, a place people spoke of in hushed tones. The locals said it was a home for those who had lost their minds or those who had been abandoned. Ravi didn't care about what people said. He only cared about his mother. But there was another obstacle. Ravi had no money, no one to guide him, and he was just a small boy in a world that barely noticed him. And then there was the man he had heard about from whispers in the market, a wealthy businessman named Arjun. People said he knew a lot about the city's secrets, about families, about money, about people who vanished without a trace. Ravi didn't know exactly how this man was connected to his mother, but something inside him told him that Arjun might hold the key. Ravi's first challenge was simply to reach him. Arjun lived in a massive mansion, with walls taller than any building Ravi had seen and gates that looked impossible to pass. He had watched from a distance, his heart pounding, imagining what it would feel like to speak to someone who seemed untouchable. Most children would have turned back, scared by the guards and the barking dogs, but Ravi's desperation was stronger than fear. He had to try. He waited until the sun was high, then stepped onto the main road, dodging carts and weaving through people with careful steps. His eyes never left the mansion gates. He could see servants moving inside, carrying parcels or sweeping the long marble pathway. A limousine was parked at the front, glinting in the sunlight, and he imagined the man inside, sitting in a leather chair, unaware of the storm about to arrive at his door. Finally, Ravi reached the gate. He stood there, small and ragged, and shouted, "Your mother is alive." "I saw her in the asylum." For a moment, everything froze. The dogs stopped barking. The servants froze mid-step. Even the wind seemed to pause. A man appeared at the balcony above, his face a mixture of surprise and confusion. Ravi repeated the words, louder this time, shaking with a mixture of fear and hope. "Your mother, she's alive," he yelled. "I saw her. You must help me find her." The man on the balcony, Arjun, stood motionless for a moment, trying to make sense of what he had just heard. A child, disheveled and desperate, shouting such wild words, could it be true? Or was this madness? Arjun's life had been orderly, controlled, and predictable. He had never imagined a boy like this could turn up at his door with a revelation that would shake everything he thought he knew. Meanwhile, Ravi felt exhausted but could not stop. Every second felt like a lifetime. He knew that if he walked away now, he might never see his mother again. He needed to be heard. So he shouted again, louder, and even the people passing by on the street turned to look, drawn by the intensity of his voice. Something about Ravi's determination touched Arjun. The man descended from his balcony, moving toward the gate. He was tall, dressed in a crisp suit, his face showing authority, yet there was a flicker of curiosity and concern. Who are you, child? Arjun asked cautiously, stepping closer. My name is Ravi, the boy said, his voice shaking but clear. Your family, or maybe your family knows the truth. My mother, she's alive. I saw her in the asylum. You must help me find her. Please, sir. Arjun studied him carefully. There was something in Ravi's eyes, a mix of fear, hope, and pain that he could not ignore. Most children would have begged for food or money. Most would have run away at the first sign of trouble, but not this boy. He carried a courage that came from the deepest kind of love. And Arjun, despite himself, felt a pull of responsibility. Calm down, Arjun said softly. Tell me everything from the beginning. How do you know she's alive? Ravi took a deep breath, the words rushing out like a dam breaking. He told Arjun about the whispers in the market, about the glimpse of his mother's name on the asylum gate, about the memories he had of her and the unbearable longing that had driven him to this point. He spoke of every lonely night, every meal he had begged for, every moment he had wished he could hold her again. Arjun listened quietly, his mind racing. There was disbelief, yes, but also the possibility that this child's story was true. It would take effort, investigation, and perhaps even courage on his part to uncover the truth. But looking at Ravi, standing there with dirt on his hands and hope in his eyes, Arjun realized he could not ignore it. Very well, Arjun finally said, his voice firm but gentle. If what you say is true, we will find her, but you must stay calm and follow me. It will not be easy. Ravi nodded eagerly, tears brimming in his eyes. He had taken the first step on a journey that could change everything. The fear that had haunted him all his life was still there, but now it was mingled with hope, and that hope felt stronger than anything he had ever known. As Arjun led him toward the car that would take them toward the outskirts of the city, Ravi looked back at the marketplace, at the streets where he had survived so long. He knew he might never return the same way again. His life was about to change, and though he did not know the challenges that awaited him, he felt a strange sense of courage. He was no longer just a boy on the streets. He was a son on a mission. And somewhere in the gray walls of the asylum, a mother waited, unaware that her child was searching for her with all his heart. Ravi had never been in a car before. The smooth ride, the gentle hum of the engine, and the soft seats beneath him felt like a dream. He pressed his small hands against the window, staring at the cityscape rushing past. The narrow lanes he had known so well, the dusty markets and noisy streets, were now behind him. Ahead lay unknown roads, and at the end of them, he hoped, was the truth about his mother. Arjun drove in silence for a while, occasionally glancing at Ravi. There was a lot he did not understand. How could a child know about something so secretive? How could he have found out about the asylum? Questions swirled in Arjun's mind, but he decided that answers would come in time. Right now, the child's urgency was too important to ignore. Are you sure you know where this place is? Arjun asked, finally breaking the quiet. Ravi nodded, though his knowledge was based on what he had heard in passing. I don't know exactly, sir, but I heard the name and I saw the building when I ran past once. I can recognize it. It's big, gray, with tall walls and iron gates. You can't miss it. Arjun's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The city outskirts were approaching, the roads becoming less crowded and more uneven. Trees lined the sides, their shadows stretching across the path, giving the place an eerily quiet feeling compared to the chaos of the city. Ravi felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He had never ventured this far before. The streets, the alleys, the shops, all of it was unfamiliar, yet the thought of finding his mother made every heartbeat feel like a drum calling him forward. After nearly an hour, they arrived at the asylum. It was exactly as Ravi had imagined, a large gray building with walls that seemed impossibly high, topped with iron spikes. The main gate stood closed, and a small guardhouse sat to the side. A few trees grew around the perimeter, but the place seemed lonely and silent, as if time moved differently inside those walls. Arjun parked the car a little distance away, and both stepped out. Ravi's eyes widened. This was the place his mother had been trapped, hidden from the world. He swallowed hard, his throat tight with fear and hope. He wanted to run to the gates to call her name, but he remembered the stories people told about such places. He had to be careful. They approached the main gate. A uniformed guard stepped forward, eyeing them suspiciously. "Can I help you?" he asked, his tone polite but firm. Arjun spoke calmly. "We are here to see a patient. This is urgent. She is well connected to my family. We believe she is here and needs assistance." The guard frowned, as if weighing their words. "Do you have permission from the administration?" Ravi stepped forward, his voice trembling but determined. "Please, my mother, she's alive. I need to see her. I can't explain everything, but please just let me see her." The guard looked at the boy and then at Arjun. There was something about Ravi's pleading eyes that made the man hesitate. After a moment, he said, "Follow me, but keep your voices low. The administration will see you shortly." Inside the asylum, the air was heavy and quiet. The walls were painted pale blue, and the corridors were wide but empty. The occasional sound of footsteps, distant conversations, and the soft shuffle of shoes echoed through the halls. Ravi clung to Arjun's side, afraid that at any moment he might lose sight of his mother forever. They were led to a small office where a nurse and a middle-aged man in a suit waited. The man introduced himself as the asylum administrator. "How can I help you?" he asked politely but with a guarded expression. Arjun spoke first, explaining that a boy claimed his mother was alive and in the asylum, and that they needed to confirm her identity. He handed over any documents they had, but most of Ravi's information came from memory, names, approximate dates, and details only a son could know. The administrator studied Ravi carefully. "We have many patients," he said slowly. "It is difficult to identify someone without proper records, but if you are truly her son, perhaps the boy can tell us things only he would know." Ravi nodded eagerly. "Yes, I know her favorite songs. I know how she used to make tea for me in the mornings. I know she used to braid my hair and tell me stories before bed." The administrator exchanged a look with the nurse. Then he nodded. "Very well, we will take you to her." Ravi's heart raced as they walked down the corridors. Each step echoed loudly in the quiet building. They passed rooms with barred windows, doors closed, and people sitting quietly or walking slowly, lost in their own worlds. The air smelled faintly of antiseptic mixed with something older, something that spoke of time spent behind walls. Finally, they reached a room at the far end of the corridor. The administrator opened the door slowly. Inside was a woman sitting on a chair by the window. Her hair was disheveled and her eyes seemed distant, staring at the wall in front of her. She looked smaller than Ravi remembered, fragile in a way that made his chest ache. Ravi's legs felt like they would not hold him, but he ran forward anyway. "Mother!" he shouted, his voice breaking. The woman turned slowly, her eyes widening at the sight of him. Recognition came slowly, like a dawn breaking after a long, dark night. "Ravi," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Yes, Mother, it's me. I've been looking for you for so long," Ravi sobbed, throwing his arms around her. The warmth of her embrace, the feel of her arms around him, made years of hunger, fear, and loneliness dissolve in an instant. The nurse and the administrator stepped back, giving them space. Arjun watched silently, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction and relief. The reunion was real. The boy's story had been true. The woman held Ravi close, her tears falling freely. "I thought I would never see you again," she whispered. I thought you were gone. I never stopped looking, Mother. I knew you were alive." "I had to find you," Ravi replied, his voice choked with emotion. For a long time they sat together, holding each other, sharing silent tears and unspoken words. It was a moment of healing, a moment of connection that no hardship could erase. After the initial reunion, the administrators and Arjun began discussing the next steps. They would need to check her health, ensure she had proper care, and eventually arrange for her to live somewhere safe. Ravi stayed close to her, asking questions, promising that he would never leave her again. As the hours passed, Ravi learned more about what had happened. His mother had been taken to the asylum years ago during a time of confusion and misunderstanding. Miscommunication, fear, and unfortunate circumstances had kept them apart. But now the truth was finally out, and the bond between mother and son, though tested by time and distance, had survived. Arjun, meanwhile, felt a strange shift inside himself. The boy's courage, the mother's resilience, and the injustice of the past had stirred something deep within him. He realized that wealth and power were meaningless compared to the human connections that truly mattered. He decided he would do whatever it took to help them, to right the wrongs of the past, and to ensure that Ravi and his mother could finally have a life together. By the time the sun began to set outside the asylum, Ravi and his mother were still talking, laughing softly, and holding each other's hands. The long journey of searching, hoping, and fearing had brought them here. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear. They had found each other, and nothing could take that away. Ravi looked around the quiet room, at the pale walls, at the small table and chair, at the sunlight spilling through the window. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of peace. The city outside was still chaotic, still noisy, still full of struggles, but inside this room, with his mother by his side, he felt safe. As they prepared to leave the asylum for the first time together in years, Ravi held his mother's hand tightly. He knew there would be challenges ahead, questions to answer, lives to rebuild, and memories to heal, but he was ready. With his mother beside him and Arjun supporting them, he felt that perhaps the impossible was now possible. The road ahead was long, but for Ravi, the most important step had already been taken. He had found his mother, and together they could face whatever the world had in store. After the reunion at the asylum, Ravi and his mother, Mira, began the delicate process of rebuilding the bond that had been lost over so many years. Even though they had hugged, cried, and spoken to each other for hours, there were still so many questions lingering in the air. How had she ended up in the asylum? Why had no one told him the truth? And why did it take so long for them to find each other? Ravi's mother, though weak at first, slowly began to remember small details about her past, piecing together fragments of memory that had been clouded by confusion and fear. She spoke of the days before he was taken from her, of the love she felt for her little boy, and the heartbreak she experienced when she was forced to leave him behind. Her voice was soft, trembling with emotion, yet strong with determination to make things right. Ravi listened carefully, absorbing every word. He realized that although he had suffered, his mother's suffering had been even greater. She had endured loneliness, confusion, and the despair of being separated from the only person who mattered to her. This understanding made him even more determined to protect her and ensure she would never feel alone again. Arjun, who had accompanied them during the reunion, observed the mother and son quietly. He had never seen such raw emotion before. The boy's determination, the mother's vulnerability, and the honesty in their eyes left a deep impression on him. He realized that wealth and comfort could never replace love, and that the courage of a child and the endurance of a mother were far more powerful than any riches. Once the initial emotions had settled, the conversation shifted to practical matters. The asylum staff explained that Mira's recovery would take time. She would need rest, proper nutrition, and a calm environment to regain her strength. They also mentioned the legal paperwork necessary for her release and the medical assessments required before she could leave. The process seemed daunting, but Ravi was undeterred. "We will do whatever it takes," Arjun assured them both. "I will help you get through this, and you will be able to leave here soon." Ravi squeezed his mother's hand. "Thank you, sir," he said. "I know it won't be easy, but I will stay with her every step of the way." Over the next few days, Ravi and Mira stayed in a small guest room provided by the asylum. It was modest, with just a bed, a table, and a window that let in soft sunlight, but it felt like a safe haven. Mira slept often, exhausted from years of hardship and the emotional strain of the reunion. Ravi kept her company, reading to her from the few books he had brought, telling stories about life outside the asylum, and sharing news of the city she had missed. Each day brought small victories. Mira regained a little strength, her voice grew clearer, and her memory returned in tiny fragments. She began to recognize familiar streets, people, and events, though she often needed gentle reminders. Ravi was patient, never rushing her, always encouraging her. He realized that love and patience were more powerful than anything else in the world. Despite the progress, there were challenges. Some days Mira would become anxious or confused, asking questions that seemed impossible to answer. She would ask where Ravi had been all these years, why no one had come for her, or why the world seemed so cruel. Ravi would hold her hand and answer as best as he could, assuring her that she was safe now and that they would never be separated again. Arjun played an important role during this time. He handled the legal paperwork, spoke with doctors, and ensured that Mira received proper care. He also tried to bridge the gap between the past and the present, helping Ravi understand the reasons behind the difficulties they had faced. Slowly, a sense of trust developed between him and the boy. Ravi saw that Arjun was not just a wealthy man, but someone who genuinely cared for their well-being. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the asylum grounds, Ravi and his mother sat by the window, talking quietly. Mira took Ravi's small hand in hers, her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Ravi," she whispered, "you have been so brave. I am proud of you. I never stopped thinking about you, even in my darkest moments." Ravi smiled through his tears. "I never stopped thinking about you either, Mother. I promised I would find you, and I did. Nothing can ever separate us again." It was a moment of quiet triumph, a small victory against the many hardships they had endured. For the first time in years, they felt a sense of hope that stretched beyond the walls of the asylum. But their journey was far from over. The next step was to reintegrate Mira into the world outside the asylum. She would need a safe home, a routine, and support to regain her independence. Ravi knew that this would not be easy. The city had changed while she was gone, and many challenges awaited them. Yet he felt ready to face them, bolstered by the knowledge that they would face them together. Arjun suggested a plan. He offered to provide temporary accommodation in a quiet neighborhood with caregivers to help Mira adjust to life outside the asylum. He also arranged for her medical checkups, therapy sessions, and any necessary legal support. Ravi felt a surge of relief. For the first time, he could see a clear path forward. As they prepared to leave the asylum, Ravi and Mira walked hand in hand through the corridors one last time. Each step was heavy with emotion, but also with anticipation. The journey ahead would be long, but it was a journey they would take together. Outside, the city stretched before them, noisy and chaotic as ever. But for Ravi and his mother, it no longer seemed overwhelming. With Arjun's support, they stepped into a car that would take them to their new home, leaving behind the gray walls that had held so many memories of pain and separation. During the ride, Ravi looked out the window, watching the streets pass by. He thought about the life he had led on the streets, the hunger, the fear, and the loneliness. And then he thought about the reunion, the warmth of his mother's embrace, and the promise of a new beginning. A sense of determination filled him. He would protect her, care for her, and ensure that nothing could ever tear them apart again. Mira rested her head on Ravi's shoulder, her eyes closed, but a faint smile on her lips. She could feel the boy's resolve, his love, and his determination to make things right. For her, it was a healing moment, a chance to reclaim the life she had lost and build a future with her son by her side. Arjun, sitting quietly in the front seat, reflected on the events that had brought them here. He had witnessed courage, love, and resilience in a way he had never experienced before. The story of a poor boy searching for his mother had unfolded before him, teaching him lessons about life, compassion, and the power of human connection. He knew that his role was not finished, but he also knew that the most important work, the reunion of mother and son, had already been accomplished. As they reached the new home, a modest but comfortable house in a peaceful neighborhood, Ravi and Mira stepped out. The house was quiet, surrounded by trees and filled with sunlight. It was a place where they could start over, rebuild their lives, and create new memories. The caregivers who had been arranged by Arjun welcomed them warmly. They showed Mira around, helped her settle in, and assured her that they would provide any support she needed. Ravi stayed close to his mother, guiding her through the house, helping her unpack and making sure she felt safe. That evening, as the sun set and the sky turned shades of orange and pink, Ravi and his mother sat together on the porch, holding hands. They spoke quietly about the future, about the life they wanted to build, and about the dreams they had for each other. For the first time in years, the world felt full of possibilities rather than obstacles. Ravi knew there would still be challenges ahead. Adjusting to life outside the asylum, reconnecting with society, and facing the memories of the past would not be easy. But he also knew that they had each other, and that love and determination could overcome even the greatest difficulties. As night fell, the house was filled with a quiet peace. Ravi and Mira went to bed, tired but content, knowing that they had taken the first steps toward a new life. Outside, the city continued its restless rhythm, but inside their home, a sense of calm and hope prevailed. For Ravi, the journey of searching, hoping, and finding had reached a milestone, but it was also only the beginning. He had found his mother, and together they would face whatever came next. With courage, love, and the support of those who cared for them, he knew that nothing was impossible. And as they drifted to sleep hand in hand, Ravi felt a quiet certainty in his heart, that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, and the bond between mother and son would remain unbroken, stronger than ever before. Ravi and his mother, Mira, had begun to settle into their new home, but life outside the asylum was not without its challenges. The world they had stepped into felt both familiar and strange. The streets buzzed with activity, shops opened and closed, children played and laughed, and the city hummed with life. Yet, for Mira, everything felt overwhelming at times. Sounds, smells, and sights that she had missed for years flooded her senses, and she often found herself pausing, unsure of what to do next. Ravi stayed close to her side. Each morning, he helped her with simple tasks, making breakfast, arranging their small home, and walking with her through the neighborhood. He noticed her hesitation when meeting neighbors or venturing to crowded areas, and he reassured her with gentle words. "Take your time, mother," he said softly. "We will go at your pace. I'm with you." Mira smiled, grateful for her son's patience and understanding. She knew she could rely on him, and that gave her strength. Slowly, she began to venture further each day, exploring the neighborhood, greeting neighbors, and even helping Ravi run small errands. Each small step was a victory, a sign that she was reclaiming her life and her independence. Arjun continued to play an important role in their lives. He had arranged for caregivers to help Mira adjust, set up medical appointments, and made sure that their home was comfortable and safe. But he also encouraged Ravi and Mira to take control of their lives, to make their own decisions, and to rebuild their world together. Arjun knew that while his support was valuable, the bond between mother and son was the true foundation of their future. One morning, Ravi and Mira decided to take a walk through the nearby park. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of flowers and grass, and the sun shone warmly on their faces. Mira paused often, taking in the sights, and Ravi walked patiently beside her, pointing out familiar things and explaining the changes in the city since she had been away. "Look, mother," Ravi said, pointing to a group of children flying kites. "When I was younger, I used to watch them and imagine flying one myself. Someday we can do that together." Mira laughed softly, a sound that had been rare for many years. "I would like that, Ravi," she said. "I want to do everything with you that I missed while I was away." Their days became filled with small routines, simple joys, and shared moments. They cooked together, cleaned together, and even started planting a small garden in their backyard. Ravi found delight in watching his mother nurture the plants, just as she had nurtured him all those years ago. And Mira found comfort in watching Ravi's energy and determination, a reminder that life, even after hardship, could be beautiful. Despite the calm, there were moments when the past intruded. Mira sometimes became anxious, recalling the isolation of the asylum, the fear of being forgotten, and the years she had spent away from her son. Ravi would hold her hand, speak gently, and remind her that those days were over. "We are together now, mother," he would say. "No one can take that away from us." Ravi also thought about the city they had left behind, the markets where he had begged, the streets where he had run, and the loneliness he had endured. But now, those memories felt different. They were reminders of how far he had come, of the courage he had shown, and of the bond he had fought to restore. He realized that every struggle, every night of hunger and fear had led him to this moment. As weeks passed, Mira's confidence grew. She began to venture further on her own, meeting neighbors, attending local events, and even visiting the market with Ravi. The community welcomed them warmly, touched by their story and inspired by their resilience. People offered help, friendship, and kindness, and slowly, Mira began to feel a sense of belonging she had not experienced in years. One day, Arjun invited them to his office to discuss the next steps. He wanted to ensure that Mira and Ravi had the tools and support to build a stable life. "You have come so far," he said, smiling. "But life is not always easy. There will be challenges, but I have faith that together you can overcome anything." Ravi nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "We are ready, sir," he said. "We know it won't be easy, but we have each other, and that is enough." Mira squeezed his hand, proud of the boy who had become her protector, her guide, and her greatest source of strength. She had feared the world outside the asylum, but with Ravi by her side, she felt capable of facing anything. As the days turned into months, their lives slowly stabilized. Ravi returned to school, eager to learn, and Mira attended therapy sessions to rebuild her mental and emotional strength. Together, they discovered the joy of simple routines, cooking meals, reading stories, taking walks, and sharing quiet evenings at home. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, a testament to the resilience of love and the human spirit. During this time, Ravi also learned more about Arjun. The millionaire had not only helped them find Mira, but he had also become a mentor and friend. He taught Ravi about responsibility, kindness, and the importance of helping others. Ravi admired him not for his wealth, but for his compassion and the way he had taken the time to care for a mother and her son. One afternoon, as they sat in their small garden, Ravi and Mira discussed the future. "Mother," Ravi said, "I want us to help other children and mothers who are lost or alone, just like we were. I don't want anyone else to suffer the way we did." Mira smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "That is a wonderful idea, Ravi. We have been given a second chance, and we can use it to help others. Together, we can make a difference." They began planning ways to reach out to the community, offering support to families in need, sharing their story to inspire hope, and helping those who felt lost and alone. Their experiences had taught them the power of love, determination, and compassion, and they wanted to pass those lessons on. As their lives continued to improve, Ravi and Mira also took time to celebrate small victories. Birthdays, holidays, and special occasions became opportunities to create happy memories, filling their home with laughter, warmth, and love. They learned to cherish each day, understanding that life was precious and every moment mattered. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, Ravi and Mira sat on their porch, holding hands and watching the world around them. "We have come a long way," Mira said softly. "I never thought I would see this day, but here we are." Ravi smiled, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "Yes, Mother, we have faced hardships, but we have also found each other, and now nothing can take that away from us." Arjun, who had stopped by to visit, observed them quietly. He felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that his efforts had helped reunite a mother and her son. The boy who had once stood outside his mansion, shouting desperately, had grown into a determined, compassionate young man. The mother who had suffered so much had regained her strength and hope, and together they had built a life filled with love and purpose. As night fell, Ravi and Mira prepared for bed, their hearts full of gratitude and hope. They knew that challenges would continue to come, but they also knew that together they could face anything. Their journey had taught them that love, courage, and determination were stronger than any obstacle, and that even after the darkest days, light and hope could be found. In the quiet of their home, Ravi whispered to his mother, "We have a new beginning, Mother. This is just the start of our journey, and we will face it together always." Mira hugged him tightly, feeling a sense of peace she had never known before. "Yes, Ravi, together always." And so, in the warmth of their small home, surrounded by the love they had fought to restore, Ravi and Mira embraced a life full of possibilities. They knew that the past would always be a part of them, but it no longer defined them. With each other, they had found strength, hope, and a future that was brighter than they had ever imagined. Their story became an inspiration for many, a testament to the power of love, the resilience of the human spirit, and the truth that no matter how difficult life may seem, determination, compassion, and courage can overcome any obstacle. Ravi looked out the window one last time before sleep, the city lights twinkling in the distance. He thought of all the streets he had walked, the nights he had spent alone, and the countless moments he had longed for this day. And he knew deep in his heart that the journey had been worth every struggle, every tear, and every challenge. For he had found his mother, his home, and his place in the world. And in the quiet of the night, with his mother sleeping peacefully beside him, Ravi finally felt a sense of completeness. The road had been long, the hardships many, but the love they shared had triumphed. And as they dreamed of the future together, there was a certainty that no matter what came next, they would face it side by side, forever united.